Welcome back everybody. Thanks again for checking out the channel. Today's video is actually going to be a shifter upgrade. What I think is probably the best shifter on the market right now for a B series or a D series engine because it does work for both. What we have today is this bad boy from Hybrid Racing. I'm sure everybody's familiar with it by now. Everybody has probably seen this in many review videos. This is a absolutely beautifully machined piece of equipment. This is the upper half of the shifter. That's actually, you're gonna put your shift knob on there. And then this is gonna be the lower half, which actually bolts to the shift linkage. We're gonna go ahead and show you a couple of advantages over the OEM shifter. All right, so before I rip this thing out of here, I just wanted to show you guys kind of what the biggest issue is. Probably easier to do this outside of the car, but if you can kind of see way down there, way in here, there's that white kind of plastic down there. That's going to be the plastic shifter bushing that goes between the shifter itself, between the ball and the actual linkage where it bolts to the car. So over time that gets really significantly worn down. I can actually, if you see, I just pull up and down on it a little bit. That's easily, I don't even know, like nearly a 1/4 inch of play up and down. So if you think that, you're getting this motion up and down, you're also going to get it left to right. Kind of hard to show here, but you're going to get a decent amount of motion left and right too. So this is going to really give you a terrible feeling. You can get replacement versions of those bushings, slap a new bushing in it, and it will feel fine in case you don't want to upgrade it. So you can definitely do that. But I mean, yeah, look at how much play there is in that. Yeah, that's why we're going to be replacing this whole thing. This is the OEM shifter. I've already taken it out of the shift linkage. A simple piece. This is the entire shifter. This is actually the OEM bushing. Now it's basically a rubber sleeve with a plastic kind of springy insert. This is actually like compresses and moves around. But over time, the inner edges of these teeth tend to wear down. That slips over the ball portion here. Just like so. Another piece of that puzzle is going to be the rubber sleeve itself. As you can see, it's got some wear in it already. It's starting to wear through. I actually bought a shifter bushing upgrade kit, which included a new sleeve. So that new sleeve actually looks like this. It's very similar, but this one did not come with the factory plastic bushing inside. So I have to get another one of those from Honda if I was to use this, but I'm not going to be using this because I am using the Hybrid Racing shifter. There's obviously a ton of play in that thing and I need to get rid of it and upgrade it. So for me, I was already doing a transmission upgrade and wanted to upgrade everything at the same time. For a long time, I really wanted to do like a Fastline performance shifter. I just never ended up doing it, but I'm finally deciding to just say, you know what, I'm just gonna throw everything into this one. So I did not get the Fastline performance shifter. Unfortunately, I saw a Hybrid Racing shifter. Level of adjustability in this thing and the quality of craftsmanship is actually amazing. So I really can't wait to get it installed and see what that looks like. Another comparison that I wanted to show you guys. Another thing I wanted to show you guys with this in comparison to the factory shifter, this one also does have a spherical ball, just like the factory one, just like the OEM one. The difference is this is actually surrounded by metal as opposed to plastic. This is actually a spherical bearing type bushing, which is going to give you a lot less clearance. It's going to give you a much smoother feel. I mean, just looking at this thing when I move it, it's just absolutely smooth as can be. That is like butter. So that compared to factory just alone, not even factoring in the extra play, that's beautiful. And the fact that it has such tight tolerances, there's no side-to-side motion, it doesn't move up and down. That's gonna be an amazing improvement over factory. One thing to note, as you can see on this bracket, there's 3 holes, okay? Now the OEM shifter only has 2. There's only 2 poles to bolt it up, but Hybrid decided to make a 3rd one to ensure that it's that much more secure in the shift linkage and there's no extra flex in that setup. So you normally have to drill that 3rd hole on the EK, for example, on the EK shift linkage. But I will not be doing that yet. For now, I'm gonna leave it as it is. I'm gonna run just the two. I do plan to take the transmission back out and do a clutch in this thing eventually. When I pull it back out, I'll pull the shift linkage back down, drill that hole, and get all three bolted up. The Del Sol application does not need the third bolt. It actually doesn't have room for a third bolt, so that's just kind of something to think about. So if you have a Del Sol and you're trying to use this shifter, you only need two, and you'll only ever be able to use two. Now, whether that really affects the longevity of it, I'm not really sure. But I would assume that they added that third hole for a reason, because they probably ran into some sort of issue, or they were just over engineering it for good reason, because there's no reason not to. Let's get this thing installed and see how it feels. All right, one thing I ran into when I was trying to install a hybrid shifter to the innovative linkage was a clearance issue. But this specific flap here, it actually normally would be okay, but the powder coat on this linkage is a little thick. So when actually moving this through its range of motion, it was actually catching right on the edge of this bevel here, where there's, it's shaved flat at the base of the sphere, but there's that little rounded edge, so it would actually catch moving through, like specifically right here. Once it got there, once it got to that point, it would actually catch there and would give me some resistance, so it was rubbing. So I actually had to massage this a little bit and bend it out of the way. Another thing that hybrid actually mentions is that if you have a B16 style shift linkage, then this width is going to be thinner than a B18. The B18s are actually thicker, and you have to use a spacer, and it won't just bolt directly together like this one does. If you are using an innovative linkage, it's going to be more like the B16, and you may have a little bit of a clearance issue there, so keep a lookout for that. This all looks pretty good together. What you think? Hard race bushings, hybrid racing shifter, and the innovative linkage. Not bad. So we got the shifter installed partially, the new one. I have the linkage installed with all the new bushings, and everything is pretty solid there. I know it's hard to see this because this boot is in the way. I don't want to take the boot off because that's kind of like a heat reducer and like a noise reducer for street driving, so that way you don't get extra heat and noise coming up from the road underneath. If you just look at this guy here, right, the very edge of the hybrid shifter, I'm just gonna yank on this thing. You notice it's kind of hard to tell, but if you remember before, there is no motion there. This thing is not budging. These hard race bushings are pretty solid. I mean, I would say that's as solid as you would need. I want to actually go over the functionality of the entire system itself, so explaining, how high and how low this can actually get. So I'm going to temporarily attach the upper piece to the shifter, and then throw a knob on it and kind of go through the motion. So this is pretty simple, obviously. Just drops straight on here like that. And the cool thing about it is that you can rotate this any direction that you want. So if you want something that's full left, as close to you and the steering wheel as possible, you can. Or if you want it full right, because say for whatever reason you like to touch your girlfriend's leg more often, you can do that too. If you want it just straight back to give you the most amount of clearance between you and the dashboard because you're tired of punching the dashboard, say like if you have an Integra, you can slap it all the way back and that'll give you the maximum amount of clearance there. Personally, I like it just to kind of come directly towards me a little bit, so that way I get the best of both worlds. It's closer to the steering wheel, it's closer to me, and it's also further away from the dash, so that makes it easier for me to reach in the long run. So I'm going to put it there. Now, it doesn't take too much torque, so I just hand tight with a couple ugga-duggas and you're good to go. That's pretty much the angle of how it's going to sit, just like that, to kind of give you a good overview. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my trusty NRG shift knob. I had it in almost every one of my Hondas. The best thing that I like about it though is the weight. But it's pretty freaking heavy. If you're ever in a situation where you need a weapon, just unscrew this bad boy and chuck it at somebody's head. Same thread pattern on the hybrid shifter as OEM. Yeah, so this is how it's set up. I think that it's the perfect position for me. I've actually already pre-adjusted everything to the height that I like it. But you can loosen this screw here. You can kind of see it's at the base of the knob, so you follow the knob all the way down. And there you go, you got this little screw. And by loosening this screw, you can move this shaft. So you can actually raise or lower the knob as much as you want. So you could have it way up here like I have it, or you can drop it all the way down and have it like right here. And if you couple that with lower adjustments, then you can either have the shortest shifter in the world or the longest shifter in the world, whatever floats your boat. So if you see here, there's numbers. These 2 screws, and these 2 screws, when you loosen these, allows you to shift the entire shift linkage, the entire actual selector lever, up and down. This metal shaft you see here will move all the way up or all the way down within, I would say, about maybe an inch, maybe a little bit more in total. I loosen those 2 bolts, and it automatically, just from the weight of the shifter, dropped all the way down. This is the shortest throw. So if you move it down, you get a shorter throw, meaning shorter overall motion between gears going back and forth. Again, bottom half is all the way down, this is all the way up, and you got, so there's, say for example, 1/3, and that's it. This is neutral, that's 1/3, and that's 1/4. Okay, so I'm getting, it's relatively short. Even with the long upper half, that's about 1 inch of movement between each gear to from the gear to neutral. It's about 1 inch. So this is neutral, 3rd gear, 4th gear. Now I can shorten the upper shaft. Oh shit. Because that's about where that taper starts, so I'm assuming they don't want you to go any further than that. So this is considered the shortest short setting, so it's all the way down on the bottom, as far down as you can go on the top before you start getting into these tapered areas here, which I think they want you to stay away from. Neutral, 3rd, neutral, 4th. So that is, I don't even, it's hard to say, but I mean this is pretty freaking short considering. So personally, I don't want to run it that short. I don't want the knob this low. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set it back to where it was. You can raise it all the way up and then have this all the way up, and that's going to give you the longest throw. I mean, that's going to make it so you're going to be first gear's up here and second gear's back here. So yeah, there's a lot of adjustability. You can make it as high or as low as you want, whatever feels good and feels comfortable to you. Additionally, the way this shifter is set up with this spherical bearing down here is just absolutely amazing. I mean, there's no fore and aft motion. You can't pull it up or down unless you leave this loose like I did, but it's a very, very tight, awesome setup. So really looking forward to taking it out on the street and test driving it, and I think it'll be pretty awesome. So all of my shifter upgrades are installed now. Everything is buttoned up and completed. I don't want to do a review yet of just the hybrid shifter because I feel like that's going to be a giveaway for how all of the modifications work together. So be sure to stay tuned for the next upcoming video where I do a full review. Once it comes out, I'm going to give you the full rundown on everything I did, how it feels, what I think about it compared to stock, and whether or not I think it's the best upgrades that you could possibly do for your transmission. So thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time.